infrastructure. What is the state of America's infrastructure today, would you say?
Well, if I had to give it a grade, I'd give it an F. We're like a third world country, Bill. I mean,
That bad? Wow.
It's bad. 60,000 structurally deficient bridges. 60,000
Really?
60,000. Our interstate systems are crumbling.
So these are bridges that are being used today that people are
That's
using.
correct. I mean, not the least of which is the one that leads from Washington, D.C. by the Lincoln Memorial across that bridge.
The Memorial Bridge?
Yeah, the Memorial Bridge is in a terrible state of disrepair, and it's on a list right now of one of the top bridges that needs repair. And there have been lots of stories where camera crews have gone underneath the bridge and the steel beams are rotting. And so, and that's true of a number of bridges, 60,000. Everybody knows our interstates are crumbling. We've had some brutal winters, not necessarily last winter, but prior to that, which have increased the deterioration of the roads. We have transit systems, again, not the least of which our own here in Washington,
Right.
D.C., Metro,
Yeah, Metro,
40 years old, that haven't kept up with the kind of infrastructure repairs, whether it's on the tracks, whether it's the escalators, whether it's new cars. And that's true all over the country, 40, 50-year-old transit systems that need new infrastructure. We haven't made the investments because the trust fund, which has funded a lot of this stuff over the last 50 years, is broke, hasn't been replenished since...
Because people are not buying as much gas?
Well, because the gas tax hasn't been raised since 1993. And that was the last time the gas tax was raised. Reagan raised the gas tax. George Herbert Walker Bush raised the gas tax. Clinton raised the gas tax. And here we are stuck with a gas tax that doesn't provide near the kind of money that we need to fix up our infrastructure.
What would it cost to do at least to do a decent repair on our infrastructure?
What we've been promoting is a 10-cent a gallon increase and index it. If the gas tax had been indexed in '93 to the cost of living, we wouldn't be having this debate. But the problem is it hasn't been raised and it hasn't been indexed. We say 10 cents a gallon, that gets you about $1 billion a year. Trump has talked about $1 trillion infrastructure plan. You got to raise the gas tax in order to get to $1 trillion. You just do.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't do it with just public-private partnerships, which are fine. We funded a lot of those while I was at DOT. You can't do it with just tolling. You can't do it with just an infrastructure bank, which Obama proposed 5 different times, and Republicans wouldn't go along with it. Now they seem to think it's a good idea. You have to raise the gas tax and really give the kind of signal that you want to raise a big pot of money to begin to fix up these roads and bridges.
You mentioned the $1 trillion. I mean, coming into this administration, this is something Bernie Sanders talked about,
Right.
Hillary Clinton talked about, Barack Obama did when you were there as transportation secretary. Donald Trump has. It looked like the one area where there was a bipartisan accord and agreement that this was going to be a top priority. Now, here we are in May. I haven't heard anything about it since January.
Yeah.
What's going on? Is there any legislation? Is there any effort to really get moving on this?
There's a lot of talk, but not much action, and mainly because the Trump people wanted to, and the leadership wanted to start off with health care, which ended up being a flop. It's still a flop, passed one house.
They're not the first president to make that mistake.
No,
right?
that's right. That's right. Now they're talking about tax cuts.
Yeah.
They're trying to find some cash cow to fund their tax cuts. And so as a part of tax reform, you could talk about increasing the gas tax and you could talk about an infrastructure bill. Whether they will or not, all of these distractions here this last few days obviously takes away from infrastructure agenda, some kind of tax reform agenda.
Anything else.
Any agenda.
Right.
So we're in a mess because people aren't really addressing